Good evening and welcome to VSB News Online for Thursday, October 23rd. I'm Peter Cattell. The visit of 500 of the world's black mayors to Bermuda in November has been postponed until February the 18th next year, after it was realized that 300 of the delegates were coming from West Africa and would be caught up in the global travel restrictions and protocols. The organizer, Virginia Williams, told VSB News this afternoon that it was thought her organization had an obligation to ensure that the event was not materially affected by the difficulties the West African delegates and their colleagues would encounter. In Bermuda, a group of registered nurses complained recently to VSB News that they were not properly trained to handle the Ebola monitoring that might be required in the event of the Black Mayors Conference taking place here. He is a former Member of Parliament, Shadow Minister, Chief of Staff, and Press Secretary to a former Premier, and the son of a former PLP Member of Parliament. But today, Jamal Simmons came into his own as the Progressive Labour Party's candidate for constituency 33 in Sands South. Announcing this at Alaska Hall, PLP opposition leader Mark Bean was fulsome in his praise of the new candidate.
Jamal Snaith Simmons is no stranger to most Bermudians, and certainly not to the people of constituency 33. Jamal is Sanders born and raised and possesses the experience to step into Parliament on day one and deliver for the people of Sanders South. Since 2006, he has been a diligent servant of the Progressive Labour Party, serving in whatever capacity he has been needed with a positive attitude, a team-first approach, and a strong work ethic. During our time in opposition, he has eagerly placed his hands in the soil and worked tirelessly to help our party reconnect with the people, supporting our MPs, working with our grassroots and our supporters whenever and wherever he has been needed.
Bermuda is at a pivotal point in our history. On one path, we can choose to build a Bermuda that works for Bermudians, one that is inclusive and that truly believes that our people are our greatest resource. Or we could choose another path, a path where Bermuda only works for the few and everyone else is pushed aside and left behind. I believe in a Bermuda that works for Bermudians. I believe that while there are tough decisions to be made, our people are our greatest resource, and we must first and foremost be our brother's keeper. I believe that the best way to judge a country is not solely by numbers on a balance sheet, but by the way it treats its people. Too many of our young people who want to work, who want to be contributing and productive members of our society, are beginning to believe that Bermuda isn't working for them. Too many of our seniors who have sacrificed so much to give each of us so much are feeling under siege and losing hope. Too many of our civil servants are fearful that shared sacrifice means they sacrifice while others fatten their wallets. Bermuda is headed in the wrong direction, and this by-election represents an opportunity for the people of Sands South to stand up, speak out, and send a very clear message that we reject Bermudians being treated as second-class citizens in our own country, that we reject slashing scholarships for our young people, and we reject the mistreatment of our seniors. Yet as we reject that, which does not serve our interests or our community, we must also embrace a vision that inspires and invests in our young people, protects our seniors, and takes a balanced approach to immigration that ensures that no Bermudian is left behind. This is what the PLP stands for, and this is the vision that with your support, we hope and will fight to make a reality. Over 30 years ago, my father, Lionel David Simmons, was elected as the PLP MP for Sands North. It is his example, his leadership, and his commitment to the elevation of Bermudians that inspired me as a child and continues to drive me today.
Considering accountant Terry Lister has reigned supreme as the PLP member for Sands South, constituency 33, for the past 4 elections, the temptation is to call it a PLP stronghold and accept there is little chance of newcomer Georgia Marshall pulling off a shock result for the OBA. But VSB News' Brian Darby has been looking at the voting pattern in that constituency over the past 16 years, and he is inclined to agree with Premier Dunkley that there is no longer such a thing as a safe seat in Bermuda politics.
Ignoring the suggestion that there are lies, damn lies and statistics, one cannot fail to see that Mr. Lister's hold on his constituency has been reduced every general election since 1998, when he won by a landslide. Now listen carefully. In 2003, he won 62% of the vote to the 38% gain by UBP candidate Ted Gauntlet, roughly 2 out of every 3 votes cast. In 2007, Mr. Lister took 61% and Alvin Wilson managed to get 39%, another convincing win for Mr. Lister. But in 2012, with a record 913 people going to the polls in Sands South, just 56%, or 516 people, voted for Mr. Lister, and Tony Spring of the OBA got 397, or 43%, a strong swing in favour of the OBA, although it was not enough to unseat the incumbent. But now, as a November the 18th by-election looms because of Mr. Lister's resignation, we have the fact that for the past 2 years Sands South has been represented by an independent after Mr. Lister left his party in frustration and despair. The situation is no longer straightforward, and the choice of Jamal Simmons as the PLP contender has muddied the waters even more. That's why, with 50 years' experience of watching Bermuda elections, I can honestly say this particular by-election is going to be extremely difficult to call. Ryan Darby reporting for VSB News.
3 transformer fires in Flats, Spanish Point and Southampton overnight have put progress back in Belco's exhausting battle to put over 3,000 customers back on the grid, mainly due, it is felt, to salt and debris coating the equipment. But by far the more worrying has been the discovery of how irresponsible some residents can be about the operation of generators, and Belco has issued an urgent message after having a close call that could have injured its own staff members. The most serious offense is to backfeed a generator into Belco's transmission and distribution system. Operators of generators are told never to plug a generator into a wall outlet, a practice known as backfeeding. This can lead to the electrocution of utility workers or neighbors served by the same utility transformer. The Progressive Labour Party will be holding an active delegates conference tonight and tomorrow, especially in the area of the selection of its top officials. It is already known that Shadow Minister of Home Affairs, Walton Brown, will be challenging incumbent party leader Mark Bean for the top position, and it looks as though 4 candidates will be vying for the role of deputy leader, currently held by party veteran Derek Burgess. We have already reported he has been thinking of standing down in favor of Shadow Finance Minister David Burt, but the rumored appearance of 2 other hopefuls, Shadow Public Works Minister Michael Weeks and Shadow Tourism Minister Zane De Silva, may have caused him to change his mind. There have been no public utterances on the subject whatsoever. The Bermuda Botanical Gardens and the Arboretum will be closed for 3 months for health and safety reasons after being battered and bowed by the winds of Tropical Storm Faye and Hurricane Gonzalo. Extensive tree and shrub damage has been caused. Large specimens and mature trees have fallen over, and there are hanging branches and debris everywhere. Runners, walkers, dog handlers, and other visitors should avoid entering the grounds due to the danger posed. The 2015 cruise ship schedule has been finalized, showing some 366,000 cruise visitors projected for the year, higher than the 350,000 projected for this year. VSB's Charles Webb has details.
Over 250,000 cruise ship passengers are scheduled to grace our shore next year, a bigger number than ever. Hence, the mood is one of excitement. Unless, of course, you lived in St. George's, where not a single cruise ship will pass through the town cut. Hamilton merchants will be able to afford a smile over 6 regular calls by the Veen Dam, plus a few occasional calls. Holland America Line will return with 6 cruises originating in Boston. The premium AIDA Cruises, a German-speaking line, will return with 4 calls, with the AIDA Luna in addition to the inaugural visit of the AIDA Evita for 1 call. Then there's the Regent 7 Seas, the premium line Oceania, the luxury brand Silver Sea Cruises, Princess Cruises, the Norwegian cruise line Breakaway, and the Norwegian Dawn will also be calling again. Add to that Carnival Cruises line, MSC Cruises, and also some unfamiliar names such as the Balmoral, Club Med 2, Hamburg, Saga, Sapphire, Oriana, and Adonio, all making one call each. There's no doubt the 2015 cruise ship schedule will provide maximum benefit for all of Bermuda's businesses relying on the cruise ship industry, and yes, in a roundabout way, even St. George's. For VSB News, I'm Charles Webb.
The Bermuda Insurance Institute and the Bermuda Institute of Ocean Sciences have combined again to put on a catastrophe risk seminar here in Bermuda for the world's insurance leaders. And by coincidence, it comes just 11 days after the visit of Hurricane Gonzalo. As Mark Guichard, Program Manager for BIOS Risk Prediction Initiative, reports, the seminar will deal with storm surge, flooding, tsunamis, and avalanches.
The focus on catastrophe risk that we have, we as Bermudians have locally, is one very, very small piece of a much broader reinsurance focus on global catastrophic risk, everywhere from, well, on almost every continent, in fact. North America, Asia, and Europe are the three main areas of traditional property catastrophe reinsurance. And we tend to focus on those, but of course there are emerging markets elsewhere that we always want to get a good handle on in advance of any major events.
That's extremely useful to these people. But you mentioned tsunami. There, at the worst scenario, Bermuda could have a place.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that one of our speakers, one of our guest speakers, Dr. Steve Ward from the University of California in Santa Cruz, is one of the original authors of the theory about a large Atlantic tele-tsunami that could move across the Atlantic and have impacts on Bermuda. No doubt there will be some questions for him about that, but that in some regards scientifically is at least old news, and he'll be focusing largely on sort of tsunami inundation modeling, and also storm surge inundation modeling, and using some recent high-profile events such as Hurricane Sandy and the tsunami in Japan to highlight some of the research and modeling that he's been doing.
Now, the United States has been going through some very weird weather, and I think some huge sums of damage have been caused.
Absolutely. In terms of storm surge, I think it's been a bit of a wake-up call in the last few years with storms hitting the northeast of the United States, like Hurricanes Irene and Sandy, both making a much larger impact than originally thought, just due to the water damage. And in fact, some of the modeling companies have been reviewing their approach to storm surge and getting a little bit more sophisticated at trying to assess the proportion of risk which is attributed to storm surge inundation versus wind damage.
The OBA's candidate for the San South by-election, Georgia Marshall, had no trouble answering the question about what she has been hearing at the doorsteps on the constituency's shortcomings.
I've started meeting with the people in this constituency, and over again, there are certain key aspects of San South that people would like to see addressed. One is the bridge. Right? We know that there were repairs recently to the bridge. The hurricane has caused more damage to the walkway. That needs to be repaired as soon as possible, and I will do everything I can to move that forward. We know that there's difficulty with the public dock at Ellis Harbor. That has always been a problem, but if you've gone around there recently, you will see that the slip has been badly damaged. Garbage piles up there for seemingly ever and is not dealt with, and I will clean that up. You know, and I will do so both in terms of getting the support of my party, but also getting the support of my community. You know, we as citizens can't expect the government to do everything. I will be calling on the people of this community to come out on Saturday morning and help us clean this mess. Right? This is doable. This is doable. And, you know, a community working together can do great things. And I hope to be a galvanizing force to bring people together to accomplish these things in this constituency.
Over the past 6 months, the government has put in place several interim measures to reduce the amount of fats, oils, grease, and other unacceptable material in the island's sewage waste stream. This, in the wastewater, can solidify to create the so-called grease balls that sometimes wash ashore from the Seabright outfall on South Shore from time to time under certain weather conditions. The newly formed Bermuda Seawater Quality Scientific, Technical, and Advisory Committee meets monthly to discuss short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans in this regard, and includes representatives from the City of Hamilton, Town of St. George, Ministry of Health, Seniors and Environment, Ministry of Public Works, Department of Sustainable Development, Bermuda Tourism Authority, WETCO, and BLDC. The STAC is coordinating the following measures that improve the wastewater quality. Commingled loads, i.e. a mix of sewage and grease, will no longer be allowed. The interior of the transporting tanker must be washed out between the transport of acceptable and unacceptable loads going into any Ministry of Public Works receiving site. Also, if a hauler is removing grease from a domestic or restaurant grease trap, that waste is to go directly into the Tynes Bay Waste-to-Energy plant tipping hull bunker, which will ensure that it does not end up being pumped out to sea via the outfall. Additionally, all trucks that bring waste to the Tynes Bay septage facility will be required to be weighed. This will assist in the monitoring of volumes of materials coming into the site, as well as where it is coming from. In sports, Bermuda go down in their opening cricket match in Malaysia. Winds in the Hamilton Harbour become a bigger challenge for the sailors taking part in the Gold Cup. Earl Baisden has these stories and more in our Sportscast.
Bermuda have gone down by 6 wickets in their opening ICC World Cricket League Division III match in Malaysia against ICC America's rivals, United States of America. United States won the toss and sent Bermuda to bat. Bermuda was bowled all out for 106. Alan Douglas Jr. was the top scorer with 36, while Christian Burgess added 24, and Lionel Cann was the only other Bermuda batsman in double figures. He scored 16. Usman Sajah was the pick of the United States of America bowlers with figures of 6 overs, 2 maidens, 3 for 12, while Jermaine Lawson, the former West Indian player, had figures of 5.5 overs, 1 maiden, 3 for 30. In reply, the United States of America scored 107 for 4 in 21.5 overs. Captain Stevie Messiah, who was dropped during his innings, was the top scorer on 31, while Aditya Tharjan added 18. Dowray Rollins was the pick of the Bermuda bowlers with figures of 7.5 overs, 2 for 40. Assistant coach Lorenzo Tucker said this was not the start Bermuda was looking for.
Yes, extremely disappointing. Considering the preparation was done, and we felt very good going into the game. With the better lineup we have, score 106 was very, very disappointing. And we're looking to come back from that tomorrow.
Obviously, losing a wicket with the first ball of the game ultimately set you back. But how is the team spirit following this loss? And you go against Nepal tomorrow. They lost as well.
Yeah, we had a lot beaten after the game, and basically, we have to come out tomorrow and really must win this game. Nepal losing as well makes it just more of a big match. We played them very well, recently in the Division III. It was a tight game, as well as the T20 last year. So we're expecting to be a very tight game tomorrow. Our Spurs are still pretty good. It's the first game in the tournament. We've got 4 games left, and arguably we're playing the 2 toughest teams to start with. So, we're figuring if we can do 1-1, then we'd be in good stead.
Sailors were presented with another challenge on day 2 of the 2014 Argo Group Gold Cup with driving rain and heavier wind conditions. On day 1, sailors were faced with overcast conditions and shifty winds, but today was considerably windier and gusting, making the Hamilton Harbor more of a wind tunnel. Flight 5 saw David Gilmore, Matthew Ricard, Marquez Stanek, and Stefan Lindbergh all record wins. Flight 6 of Group 2 saw Ricard, Lance Fraser, Otterbridge, and Taylor Canfield all record wins. In Flight 7 of Group 2, Canfield, Poole, Fraser, and Lindbergh all recorded wins. The 2014 Trey Swan Memorial Junior Tennis Open Tournament continued at the W.E.R. Joe Tennis Stadium yesterday afternoon. Daniel Phillips won the boys' 10 green ball final in straight sets 4-1 4-love over Bobby Bart. In the boys' 18 singles final, Luke Sterling defeated Evan Halliger in straight sets 6-3, 6-1. Kayla Harvey won her girls' 14 singles plate match in straight sets 6-3, 6-love over Maria Ramirez. And Imani Phillips defeated Shelby Medeiros 6-2, 6-love in their girls' 12 singles round-robin match. Kaiwan Miners began taking part in the ESP Fall Series horse jumping event in Florida. On day one, Miners competed in the jumper and hunter classes. Miners and Montana finished 7th in the level 6 jumper 1.30 meter class. The pair recorded a time of 76.04 and they had 4 penalty fault points. Miners competed with 3 horses in the Performance Hunter 3 feet 3 inches to 3 feet 6 inches class. Miners and After Party finished 5th. He finished 6th riding Nash, and then on Black Tie Affair he finished 7th. The 2014 Rubis Divisional Squash Tournament got underway last evening at the Bermuda Squash Rackets Association Club. In the A Division, the defending champion Nazir Smith went out in round 1 when he fell 10-12, 11-7, 11-8, 13-11 to Anthony Fellows, while Runa Retta defeated Chris Dawson 9-11, 11-3, 11-5, 11-3. Eugene Botello won his B Division match over Colin Cooper 11-7, 11-8, 8-11, 11-5, while Ben Bremlett needed 5 sets to defeat Laird Simmons 14-12, 7-11, 8-11, 12-10, 11-5. Flora Duffy has arrived in Hawaii ahead of the Exterior World Championships, which is scheduled for this coming weekend, October 26th. In the women's race, the spotlight shines bright on the defending champion Nikki Samuels from New Zealand and 2014 All-Star Duffy. Duffy has dominated all year, winning everything she has entered except the Exterior Germany, where European Tour champ Catherine Mueller took the top spot. Those 3 should put on quite a show come this weekend. I'm Earl Basden reporting for VSB Sports.
Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Thursday, October 23rd. I'm Peter Cattell.